What's up, guys? It is Flashwing out here in Old Town Scottsdale, taking the vlogs on a little bit of a road trip today, because today is Q&A Thursday.
Magic, like an endless echo. Sweet, sweet goodbye.
But I thought I'd show you guys around town of an area that, if you're local, you know. And if you're not, you may be interested in seeing, like, well, this guy here. So the thing about Old Town Scottsdale is it's got a lot of art. It's got a very sort of small town, main street shopping center kind of feel. And so, but there's a lot of interesting stuff down here, to be perfectly honest. And it's an area that is one of those places that you should definitely explore if you come to Phoenix and if you come to Arizona. There's some cool stuff down here, like a winery. Like I said, all kinds of different art exhibits to see. Like this right here, this giant blue head. Admit it. You want to pick his nose, don't you? Admit it. How do you contort that way? How does that work? It almost seems like bullet holes, like a gunshot.
In the shadows we come, then you shine away from me, while we're still twisted up in sheets. Oh no, you don't get to call a spade a rose. I'm living in the linger of your magic, like an endless echo, like an endless echo. Sweet, sweet goodbyes, your memories, an empty serenity. Sweet, sweet goodbyes.
Oh, serious? I was literally just sitting down to do the Q&A portion, and the lights shut off. This week, the one question that I got for Q&A Thursday comes from, I believe it's Motochoco. Motochoco says, Flashwing said, what made you buy your first motorcycle, and did someone inspire me? To a certain extent, I'll kind of answer those in reverse in terms of who inspired me to get a bike. To a certain extent, I have a couple of friends. One in particular, my friend Clay, who's been on my channel a couple of times in some of our shenanigans, who was one of the very few people that I knew who rode a motorcycle. Also, my buddy Tim, who I've done some ingress, and you saw Tim in the Jeep Adventure video. Tim also has been riding for a very long time, and so having a couple of friends who've ridden bikes kind of helped expose me to it a little bit. Otherwise, I didn't know anybody else who had a motorcycle. But the first time that I rode a bike, like a legitimate motorcycle, I think was like a little 50cc Honda, and I had to have been 9. I was at my aunt and uncle's house down in Indiana where I grew up, and they had a little Honda bike, I believe it was a Honda, that we were riding all over their yard. I never got the bike out of second gear, and we used to ride it from they had a decent amount of land at their home. They used to ride it from the front of the very front of their property all the way around to the back, and then do a loop, and then come all the way back, and then my two cousins, we would trade off, and then someone else would ride it. And I remember one day we rode that bike all day, like all day. That's all we did was we rode it, we brought it back, rode it, brought it back. I was always begging my uncle to let me take it on the road and ride it down to my grandparents' house, which was only a few houses down, and of course they were like, absolutely not. I rode a little bit of a pit bike. One of the friends of mine who lived in the neighborhood I grew up in, his parents built a little pit bike out of a lawnmower engine, and we used to go down by the railroad tracks near my house, and there was a big path of black, like rocks and dirt along the side of the railroad tracks, and we would just do laps up and down, up and down, up and down, you know. And so like I've had experience, especially when I was a little kid, of riding motorized bikes. But as an adult, my parents were always against it. And so I got into cars instead, and I really thought that cars would be my passion. But then when I started getting really deep down the rabbit hole of cars, I started thinking about bikes again, because I knew that, at least I thought that bikes would be cheaper. So I can't say that anybody really inspired me to ride bikes, but I had friends that exposed me to the idea, and then I just decided it was something that I wanted to do. I decided that it was a challenge. I decided that it was something I wanted to have in my life, and so I just made the decision and I went out and did it. So that's what inspired me to get my first bike. My very first motorcycle that I owned was a V-Star 650. It was a 2000. And that was simply a convenient bike. It was cheap. It was easily available. It belonged to a friend of mine. I know that my dad owned bikes at one point in his life, but I don't know what kind of bike. I don't know for how long. But I just had a couple of friends that were around it. So, but it really has always been something that I've wanted. I mean, I had a friend of mine in high school who had a really quick Buell. You know, so he rode bikes, and so I was always just kind of exposed to it just a little bit, enough that it stayed on the brain. So, Motochoco, thank you very much for your question. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to keep walking around Old Town a little bit, just check this place out a little bit further, with hopefully no more of the lights turning off. So that's pretty much it, guys. A little bit of Old Town Scottsdale. There's still a lot more here, but if you're in the area and you're visiting, or even if you're in Phoenix and you've never been down here, come down here and check it out. I hope you guys enjoyed Q&A Thursday. It's getting pretty late, almost 1 o'clock in the morning, so I think I'm going to call it a night. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. And remember, if you guys want to get a shout out and you want channel exposure, contribute to Q&A Friday. Contribute to Q&A Thursday, hashtag Ask Flashwing. Get me your questions by Wednesday evening, and they'll get in the vlog for the next day. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate your time. We'll see you out there.